Hey there, you are tuning in to The World We Live In with Brandy J. I hope you are well. I once again want to say thank you for making the choice of listening and tuning in to my show. So, the episode that I have aired today, that I'm airing today, was an episode that was actually took place months ago. I think even before March. I think it could be right about there. Actually, I should be able to see that. So why I'm saying this is this was prior to now. So this was, over 4 or 5 months ago. And there's a reason for it. And I truly think this is a good time for it. And some of you probably even know of this gentleman because he's an entrepreneur and a podcaster, young and full of business and goals and dreams, and he's on point. He knows what he wants. And if you ever had any types of questions when it comes down to what podcasting is all about, how you market it, what your do's and your don'ts, to the artwork, to the content, whatever, it's nothing can go, without him not being able to tell you how to get it done. And the proof is in success, right? And so this is Rom, and owner, co-founder of Podblade, and a lot of other of the podcasting groups we see online. So I had the pleasure of talking with him and also his partner, Apple Crider. I connected with him a year and some change ago. When I first started out, I would always pop into their groups and go live and listen to them. You know what I mean? They have always been two people that I will seek out or see, and definitely know I'm benefiting by dropping in with these fellas here and listening to them. Because let me tell you, they know their stuff. They know their stuff. And I'm very honored to say that he's here. And I think, matter of fact, I know that we can all gain something from this gentleman. If you're already on point and you got your stuff on lock, that's great. I mean, I've grown a lot since then, but I think there's always room for improvement. And if not with us, well, I think we always should be growing. If we stop, then that means that we have now limited ourselves to one, way of thinking, because there's always things evolve. But you can always pass along information to someone else, to the next person, to the next person. Because one thing I have learned for sure in this game here, in this podcasting world, you support. We support one another. That's in life, right? Well, sometimes things don't go that way, but for surely, when it comes to this here, you gotta pay it forward. So let's get started. And this is Rom, and thank you for tuning in the world we live in, Podcaster's Vision style. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to my show. This is Podcaster's Visions with Brandy J. Today I have here with me co-founder and owner of Podblade, and it's the podcast, right?
Yeah, it's a podcast editing company.
And I have with me here Rom. And Rom, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the invite. I was invited you a long time ago. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. When I came across you and Crider that day, I was just like, oh shoot. I was like, great. Because every time, I can listen to you guys, I take in what you guys are saying, because I don't really hear many saying what you're saying and actually have, hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it'd be pretty freaking cool to have you on, and just and this is called Podcasters Visions, obviously because you're a podcaster. And then I saw some of your background. It said that you've been like growing up as from younger, you've always like been into entrepreneurial type of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have it in you. Could you tell us
Exactly.
a little bit about that, like how you like your journey up until now?
Yeah, sure. So I originally started this whole entrepreneurship journey when I was around 15. I was watching a lot of Gary Vee and a lot of these other big entrepreneurs, and for me, I didn't really think it was possible until I saw people in my circle actually doing it. And it was, my dad is an entrepreneur, and a few of my friends had these little side businesses. So it wasn't until that moment that I really knew that something like that was possible. I was always under the impression that the whole 9 to 5 thing, there was no way out of it. That was how society was built, and you could not escape it. And so that was really my goal with creating the podcast and creating Podblade, just getting familiar with other people in the industry, building my network, and eventually creating a company that's based off of what I love, which is podcasting.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay. So yeah, you definitely know what's going on. You're the man to be talking to. Okay. So 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 was Podlay, was that your creation, your baby and everything, or did you and Carter like build it together?
Yeah, so this was our thing together. I originally started out not really knowing what I wanted to do with a business. I didn't know how I wanted to go about it. I knew I wanted to start a business. I just didn't know how it would pan out. I didn't know what industry or what type of field I wanted to get in.
Yeah.
But I started a podcast about what I loved, which was business entrepreneurship, and I loved podcasting. So just bringing those two together to create a podcast editing company that solved a lot of the problems that I had when I was starting my show with the audio and the video, as well as social media side. So we really were able to provide an experience that catered to our needs as podcasters, which is why I have such a deep connection to this company. And it was created by Apple and I a little over a year ago, and it's been a great journey ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I agree with when you do a podcast, it's got to be about something you love, you know, and that's why I always think back, like when I'm trying to renew myself or like reinvent or just like I don't know if I should just like keep it same, but I always seem like I just feel like I need to turn it up a notch. Dear Anchor, thank you for giving me a place to create my own podcast and for free. The creation tools that allowed me to record and edit my podcast right from my phone or my computer. At Anchor, you distributed my podcast for me and put it on places like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and many more. Allowed me to make money from my podcast with no minimum listenership and has everything I need right here to make a podcast in one place. Thank you so much, Anchor. And for the rest of you, please go and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Download free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What would you say to podcasters and about keeping their podcast like relevant? Should they just try to always be consistent, or should they step it up? Or
I would say it depends on the type of show you're going for. So obviously you have more of an interview style, and so you're able to get a new face or a new conversation, new topic every time with a new guest. But for someone doing it solo, I would definitely recommend, especially if you're starting out, to stand towards a specific topic and to steer that way. But but also to kind of add a bit of personality into the mix. I don't like listening to podcasts myself that deal with, very boring people that read off of, the paper. It's just like, am I listening to a podcast, or am I just hearing like you just read off of a paper? And so for me, I like to see personality, and that's what we're talking about, keeping topics interesting, bring your personal life into this. This is your show and you want to make it about you as well as the topic you're talking about. So for me, I like to provide a lot of stories about my journey as well. And I like to provide an insight topic and version of the guests and how they were brought up with their entrepreneurship journey, their family life. It just gives people that behind the scenes view that they're not able to get elsewhere. And so that's definitely one way to make it interesting.
Okay. I like that. That's some of the things I know because I do a lot of I guess like half and half. Like I do a lot of solo, and then I'll whenever I can get a guest, and I'm like, yeah, sure, come on. So a little balance out, so it can someone just be like a little bit of keep it, I guess, interesting or whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe
Exactly.
so. Okay, and definitely personality. You're correct. Like people I've been told like I'm animated or just kind of like I find it to be, I guess, if you're just yourself, but then some people are just boring. And so if
Yeah.
they're boring, should you just, then maybe they should like, would that be them? I don't know. But I do believe that people don't want to just hear somebody just, blah, 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 blah. I had somebody like that the other day. And it wasn't good. But, okay. So, hmm, interesting. So when it comes down, okay, so this is what I've learned doing podcasting because some people may get the wrong idea, and they don't even have a clue how the ways to make money. And that's probably because they don't podcast from podcasting. But I know that it's not something that's going to come like that. And I was told like at least you're not, a good year or something. You're just going to be basically building your brand, right?
Yeah,
Or
so I
you,
mean it depends on a few factors. There's a lot of ways that Apple and I we actually talked about this on the last coaching call on how we were able to leverage a lot of the back end stuff. So making brand deals or partnerships with our potential guests that we had on the show rather than trying to just stuff ads and just ruin the listener experience. So there's a lot of creative ways. So essentially the way that we've kind of come up with is that in the beginning the most creative people and the more outside of the box people, that's the way to, I guess, make the most money, especially when you're starting out. But definitely do not have any high expectations of making this an income stream
yeah,
till you have a decent listener base and you're able to reach out to sponsors and monetize that way as well.
yeah, for sure, totally, definitely. I mean, I have a love for it, so I think I do regardless. I don't think there's been a day that went by. I just barely made it over a year that I haven't podcasted, like did anything or recorded something, or I just have to. I feel like it's in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the money part, I'm like very like patient with because I'm just having a good time, like meeting people, learning stuff. Like I really, really like meeting people, connecting with like the audience and like other fellow podcasters. That's just but as far as when you were saying was it I think it was the ads or the way to okay, you said the listener base. What would you say is a healthy listener?
I mean, there's just so many factors that go into that. There's, the industry that you're in, there's how long you've been doing it for, and honestly, there is no magic number. I would say that there's just like I said, a few different factors, but I would from like a money perspective, there's a thing called CPM, which is
Yeah,
cost per thousand listeners. So if you want to talk about monetization, that would be the best way to kind of go about it and to think like that. But for me, there's no really like ideal number of listeners. I always just try to grow my show episode by episode. But for me, there's no magic number when it comes to that.
okay, okay. Yeah, I asked this because you know for me, like the money part will come when it comes, I guess, because I think, like you said, growing your show, like show by show, and then it gets better in the content, and it's about the audience and stuff, and that obviously will show through, by you doing what you do, that will come with it. But as far as like the numbers, I'm starting to see that, say for instance, there's people that want, there's guests that want to go on podcasts. There's a lot of, or stars or celebrities or business, whoever they may be, they might want to go on to podcasts and promote themselves or whatever the case may be. I noticed that sometimes that's how they'll decide. Sometimes if they want to even, I guess that would make sense too, like want to go on your show, depending on your listener base or like how many, listeners you have and all that stuff. So is that something familiar like to you? Does that even make It's like,
Yeah, I mean, for me, for the guests that I've had, most of them don't ask for the listener amount. Most of them, they see that I have a top 100 podcast. They see that I have over 100 reviews for my show. So that's really the main selling points there. So I haven't really ran into that, but I know there definitely are some guests that would like to see some of that information for sure.
couch, and then we just kind
It's
of
it's a
get it on.
conversation essentially. That's
Yeah.
like the goal of it.
And that's kind of usually how it like goes. So, but there's always so many different type of people, but
Yeah.
with really like great storylines. And so, with that being said, and then me doing, or not just me, or for anybody else that are doing, when they're solo, would you say that's like a little bit too much or all over the place, or as long as I keep it interesting, would that just be the only
I tried doing a few solo episodes. It was very, very hard to talk to myself for like 10 or
matter?
15 minutes. And you don't understand if the listener actually understood what you're talking about or if you're just
All right.
blabbling on. So it's a little bit difficult. I personally, it's too hard for me. I don't like doing it. I'm very rooted on having conversations and getting to know someone else on a deeper level. That's a lot of where the
Yeah.
passion for podcasting comes from. So that's personally what I do. I know tons of people that do solo episodes and they're great at it. I guess it's just a different passion, different skill, because podcasting in an interview and podcasting by yourself are two completely different skills.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to hit on both of them, but I actually enjoy like the ones by myself. But I have to like really like you said, you gotta like it can't be like boring. You gotta really be able to pull it off. And so
Yeah.
I always make sure it's something that I always tell my listeners I'll promise to always keep you entertained. And so yeah, I kind of go back and forth and but yeah, I just always want to because I know some people's or vision or whatever they have. Sometimes it can look like a lot going on. And then I know for one thing I was not struggling with, but I wanted to ask you, as far as when you have your podcast, could it break or make you or be a big difference if you don't have a scheduled time? Like if you just, it's very consistent. You're like daily, and you're always delivering, but you don't have a set time. That'd
Yeah.
be
I would say consistency is extremely important for podcasting. So what I do, I post every Thursday. Yes, it's once a week, and I know most people do a lot more. But for me, if I can do it every Thursday, then I've succeeded. I've created a routine, because essentially that's what it is. It's creating a routine. And so
hmm
if you promise someone every Monday and you don't post Monday and you don't post the next Monday, then they kind of break that routine, and then you don't
yeah,
really have a consistent time or reason for them to go to listen to your show. So you lose a lot of the incentives with it. So I would definitely say having a consistent time, consistent day. If you want to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you want to do Thursdays, whatever you want to do, just be consistent with it and don't make it too hard for yourself. So don't say I'm going to post 7 times a week at 9 a.m.
yeah,
Because unless you're doing it full time, it's not really feasible. So I would just be reasonable with yourself and just create an attainable goal of how often. And it doesn't have to be crazy, as long as you're able to do it consistently. If work comes up, if life comes up, you're still able to maintain that schedule. That's what
yeah.
I would say would be the ideal thing for any podcaster.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I was starting to. It took me a while to pick up on that because I would just deliver shows, but I never had a time, like a set time. And I said that could probably, like, well, how are people supposed to know what time they can go? I just assumed like they'll just run across it or just go looking for it. And I was like, that doesn't make sense, Brandy. Okay, all right. So I know that. Well, I have another thing I wanted to run past you, but as far as I'm learning that what is it, cover art?
hmm
So is this true that this really does play a major role in one's podcast?
Yeah, my cover art that I originally made was on Canva, and then I bought one from Fiverr. And then I ended up spending $150 on a really, really, really nice one that I now have as my cover, because cover is everything. That's what your potential listener will see when they're scrolling through the directory, when a potential guest wants to go on your show. It's the professionalism, it's the brand, it's the cleanness of it. And so essentially that's a lifeline. So I would say I cheaped out on it when I first got started, but definitely something to take seriously and to make sure that it's clean and professional for anyone that looks at it, whether it's a guest or a listener, like I said earlier.
Okay. Yeah, I was like looking, especially I guess with Apple, it was an iTunes or Apple. They it's supposed to be like I guess they wouldn't even like let you on your show on or something if you're not like up to par. But okay, because I know I was looking at things like it was talking about the brightness and the color and making sure that it didn't show. It just got kind of like not crazy, but I was just like, oh, I kind of made me a little insecure. So, but yeah,
Where'd
that's
you get your
definitely.
cover from?
Well, originally I was getting it from like Anchor,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started to actually I ran across Canva today, but then I was going to like Unsplash, like the little website, and then there was another one, Pixley or something. I was just like going, putting it online, and then just seeing whoever had free images and pictures and illustrations and stuff.
Have you ever? I would definitely recommend definitely investing in something like this because it is your logo, is your brand, and people can just tell if you're just taking copyright free images and just putting your the name of your podcast. So definitely would recommend adding something like a logo for your show, and you can hire someone on Fiverr probably for like $5 or $10, but it really will make the difference for you. So that's just a piece of advice from me to you.
Sure, that's definitely that does make a lot of sense. I mean, if I it makes sense if I want if this is something for me that I'm serious about, I need to
Yeah,
be
you got to put your money where your mouth is, you know.
right, right. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. Okay, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, actually, I'm kind of excited because I want
Awesome.
to like create like my own. But see, this is the thing though. My show hasn't changed. I started off with a voice to be reckoned with, right? And that's just what it is, and that's what everybody knows. And so I was like, I don't think you should change that. But then it was like, I don't know, things started evolving, and my head got to going, and then I came about recently, and then I was like, should I just make that a whole nother show? And was the world that we live in, and it's kind of just centered more around what's going on since COVID and up until now. Because voice to be reckoned with is like a voice for obviously a voice to be reckoned with mine, others, people that can't speak for themselves. I can be their voice, and it just kind of worked out, because people come on the show and they use their voice to speak whatever it is, if it's pain, if it's business, if it's something good, it's whatever, it's their voice, and they use it as they please as long as they're respectful. But then I moved on to the world we live in, and so this I know will play a major part in when I guess when I choose my cover art. And so, would you think it would make sense if I just stuck with the name that everybody knows? 'Cause I don't think you really want to go around like changing your title all the time, huh?
Yeah, I would recommend just creating a logo out of the name or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and just making it. Yeah, I would keep the name. I would just make a brand around it because with copyright free images, it's very hard to kind of differentiate yourself from other brands and other people doing similar things. So definitely making some kind of graphic to separate yourself would be huge for you.
Okay, okay, most definitely. I'm so excited. So what do you think? Do you think that I think so, but it could just be me. Is podcasting, because I mean podcasting is like hot.
Hmm.
Everybody says there's like a lot of podcasting. I never watched podcasts really before I started. Somebody did an interview and they asked me, said, "Do you like who's your favorite and do you watch?" I was like, I got nothing from any. I just one day I seen stuff. I think it was Anchor, and I just said, so I got a lot to say. I mean, see what happens. And but completely forgot what I was about to say right now. It's crazy. Yeah, okay, yeah. So podcasting, is it taking over like radio? Because I've been dipping and dabbing in radio too a little bit.
Yeah,
You know.
I think it is. I think it is the new radio, and I think it's also doing a lot better than, it in terms of like growth
Hmm.
than, a lot of the longer form content, or sorry, a lot of the shorter term content, because a lot of people, or in the visual as well, a lot of people are leading a lot more towards multitasking. Our attention spans are getting shorter, and so instead
Yeah.
of watching that hour long YouTube video, I can now watch or listen to the same content, except now I can go for a run. Now I can, take a shower, eat some food, and I don't have to be staring at a screen. I can just have it
Right.
in my headphones, and I can multitask, because no one has the capacity or the stamina to stare at a screen anymore. Our attention spans are just
Yeah.
dead,
Not
dead.
going on.
So that's really why I believe really heavily in podcasting, because it allows people to still get the content that they like,
Hmm.
except now they're able to still have their crappy attention spans and just do whatever they want while they're getting the content.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I was playing around with some like radio stuff. I like the live part of it. I'm starting to learn that I like going live. That was pretty cool. So I was just dipping and dabbing, but I know that even with the radio, um, uh, the broadcasting radio apps I was coming across, there was still podcasting implemented with the you had the choice. It was like radio, the podcast. So like podcast was like still, you know, basically there. So okay. So you said something that was very important to me, and it was people in their short attention span. And what's the longest of your show? What's the longest time that you have? How long are your podcasts?
Yeah, so my podcasts are typically between like 30 to 45 minutes. My longest one is probably an hour and 15.
Okay.
But I typically try to stay away from those. But yeah, that's typically the range for my shows.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a few. I asked because I've had a few when you were saying the whole attention span thing. That, but I tried to edit it down as much as I could, but it was like 2 hours.
Wow.
Sometimes, but I guess that was because the conversation was good or that person was like intense or something. But I was like, I don't think, I don't want to be that. I want people to, be, like you said, quick, they get what they need, and in they're out. I guess so. But okay,
Yeah.
as long as I try to steer away, don't do too many of those.
Hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So let me ask you, Ram. So what is it? Can you please tell us? This is his podcasting vision, and usually that entails. I mean, I had Kreider on I think last year, and letting the listeners know or the other fellow podcasters know because you did talk about you know being an entrepreneur growing up and why you're in this, but like, where do you pull like your vision from, and what kind of experiences have you had during this that have been great, not so great, and the struggles that you had to like overcome? Like, have you ever like just wanted to give up, or just really just, I know it wasn't always like coasting.
Yeah, I mean it's still not coasting. I mean, there are days where I'm like, oh, like we like so many things are on the fence as an entrepreneur every single day. So many things go right, but so many things also go wrong. And so just being aware of that, and just knowing that the stuff that's happening is not, it's not permanent, and there's a fix for it, and it's just sticking with it. There have been so many times where I'm like, wow, like this is like not working, but I really like it, and I know it could work, and I know it has potential, and you just keep going, even if it doesn't logically make sense, right? If people logically told Jeff Bezos that he would be this, like that it wasn't possible, then he wouldn't do it, but he didn't listen, and that's obviously how he got to where he is today, by just believing in and seeing the vision that other people didn't see. And that's kind of the same thing here with me. My goal is to escape the 9 to 5 before I graduate, and I'm well on my way to doing that. Very, very grateful for a lot of the opportunities that I've had, and so working towards that has been the vision for me. And just like I said earlier, escaping that 9 to 5 of just going to a job that you hate and then going home and just wasting 4 years of your life. I thought to myself, I can't do that. And so I'm going to do anything I can to make sure that that doesn't happen to me, and I can live a life where I can travel anywhere I want, and all these cliche things. But for me, it's just location freedom and just being able to work from my house. I know, especially right now, COVID-19 stuff happening, but that's really been the goal for me. It hasn't even been financial goals. It's, for the most part, it's just been, just living a very fulfilling life and not, going to the traditional 9 to 5.
Everybody, this was Ram, the co-founder and owner of Podblade, and an amazing entrepreneur and my new best friend. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you. We had
Take
a
care.
great time. You too. You too. I truly hope that someone, or maybe all of us, took something from the show here with Ram. Once again, thank you so much for your patience, your time, and for sharing and doing what you do to help others. Got to pay it forward, right? And since this time, you know, I personally know that I have grown a ton with more growing to do, but it's been an amazing journey. And I appreciate you for, you know, helping others and helping us learn how to use our business, how to effectively move your podcast in a way where you see results. And as we all know, content is key, and loving what you do is the status, is the bar. Because if you don't love it, then why are you even doing it? So make sure this is what you want to do. And when you do it, talk about stuff you love, because people can tell, and that can make or break you. Don't forget your personality either. Definitely bring that. Cause just because you like hearing your own voice doesn't mean that's the case for everybody. So just be you and let go. And if you're not one to really do that, then just let go. It's in everybody, right? Thank you again. This is Variety DJ and the world we live in. Peace.